Before we start, a few disclaimers. This is not meant to be a comprehensive guide of all the Girl of the Year dolls. It is just meant to be basically the cliff notes for you. Second, the prices that I list for the entire collections are approximate. They may include possible discounts due to buying multiple items at once and so on, and obviously prices have changed slightly, especially in recent years, so they're approximate. Finally, if you really want a comprehensive guide about all the items that are in the Girl of the Year collection, I suggest checking out the American Girl Wiki. So what started the Girl of the Year line? Basically, it's because fans wanted a modern character doll. And as a result, American Girl came up with the Girl of the Year line, in which it featured modern character dolls with books, and also outfits and accessories that were related to the character itself. In addition, these dolls would only be offered on a limited time basis. So the first Girl of the Year doll was Lindsey Berkman, who was also their first Jewish character. Now, she didn't have much of a collection, but again, American Girl was just testing the waters, and they kind of wanted to see how people would react to her. And because of her small collection, her total collection only cost $135. Next was Kelly Hopkins, who had more of a theme to her going. You could tell she was from California, she had swimming going, and so this was American Girl's first attempt then at going with more of a theme doll for the Girl of the Year line. Again, though, the collection was small and it only cost $151. For Marisol Luna, who came out in 2005, American Girl shifted to actually having the Girl of the Year come out at the beginning of that calendar year and being gone by the end of the calendar year. And Marisol featured a very dance-heavy theme to her collection, but she was also considered very popular back then, and American Girl took this as a sign that having themed collections were the way to go with the Girl of the Year line. However, not surprisingly, as the collection grew, also the price grew. In 2006, we got Jess McConnell, who introduced a new mold to the American Girl line, which was meant to represent a biracial, half East Asian, half white doll. She ended up featuring a slightly larger collection that was focused on adventure and exploring. Next, we got Nikkifleming, who again had a slightly bigger Girl of the Year collection as indicated by the price you'll see at the end, and her focus was a Western and ranch theme. 2008 brought Mia St. Clair, whose focus was on ice skating. Her collection also was the first to introduce a piece of furniture to a Girl of the Year line collection. As a result, her collection cost also significantly increased compared to Nikki's. Next, we had Chris and Maxwell, who introduced a new concept of best friend dolls to the Girl of the Year line, but also was the last at best friend dolls, indicating that it probably wasn't the best concept for the Girl of the Year line given the limited edition timeline for it. However, her collection also was considered least successful in terms of not really having a theme to it, and her books only covered bullying as a focus, which, while a good concept to discuss, doesn't really translate well as a toy concept. 2010 brought us Leah Holland, who had what fandom likes to call a BTI, or a big ticket item, meaning an item that's really expensive and also physically takes up a lot of room. As a result, her collection also increased in price. 2011 saw Kanani Akinrade, who was the first time that we saw the Jess mold in the medium skin tone. She had a Hawaiian theme to her and was considered fairly popular due to her long playable hair and just a playable collection in general. However, her collection lacked a BTI, so it wasn't as expensive as Lainey's was. With the Summer Olympics on the horizon in 2012, American Girl capitalized that and brought us McKenna Brooks, who was a gymnast. And her collection did include a larger loft bed, which did bump up the entire price of her collection, so it was again more expensive than Kanani's was. 2013 brought us Sage Copeland, who was from the Southwest, and her collection reflected that. Most notably about this doll is that by default she came with pierced ears, and which Ivy and Elizabeth from the historic line were the only other two dolls at that point to come with pierced ears by default. She also featured a brand new eye color, which is unique to her. Next was Isabelle Palmer, which repeated the dance theme that Marisol had 9 years ago. However, she did bring a new concept of mix and match clothing, which was obviously successful enough considering that American Girl ended up integrating it not only in their Truly Mean line, but also for Courtney, the 1980s historical. 2015 brought us Grace Thomas, who was interested in baking and also had a French theme to her, and she also has the designation of being the most expensive Girl of the Year line collection to date. So congratulations to her for that. 2016 brought us Leah Clark, who had a similar theme to Jess McConnell from 10 years ago, in which she featured a exploration theme in a tropical area. And despite what some people automatically assume, she's not a doll of color, she's just a very tan white girl. We finally got our first Black Girl of the Year doll in 2017 with Gabriella McBride. Now, there are some things related to her and Tenny that are speculated regarding a switcheroo and the status, but we won't get into that in this video. But overall, she finally brought the representation that fans were clamoring for years. 2018 brought us Lucia Vega with a purple streak in her hair, and she also was the second Latinx Girl of the Year doll in the line. She was also the first doll in the line to have an explicit focus on STEM. Blair Wilson came out in 2019, and she was the first Girl of the Year doll that has had the lightest skin tone possible. Her focus was on farming and cooking, though some people argued that her collection wasn't the most cohesive compared to recent collections. 2020 brought us Joss Kendrick, who was the first Girl of the Year doll with a visible disability in terms of having her hearing aid to represent her hearing loss. She also has the designation of being the second most expensive Girl of the Year collection, mostly due to her $650 Volkswagen van. And finally, 2021 brought us Keira Bailey, whose story heavily focuses on wildfires and other happenings occurring in Australia, and as a result was a pretty big hit among Australian American Girl fans. So thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and please remember to like and subscribe.